This is In the Trenches, broadcast 50.
Welcome to In the Trenches, where entrepreneurs, artists, writers, designers, inventors, warriors, and leaders share their stories of doing the hard, creative work that impacts all of our lives. Let the journey inspire you to do something worthwhile, build something bold, and create your life's work. And now, your host, Tom Morkis.
Welcome back, everyone, to another broadcast of In the Trenches. Today's guest is Lisa Stiefel, founder of the Multicultural Life. Lisa, how's it going?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Doing great. So, Lisa, let's get into it. I want to know a little bit more about you. I'm checking out your website right now, and the Multicultural Life, and it says that you've lived in a few different countries. It sounds like you've traveled all around the world. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started, I guess, traveling.
Okay, well, I guess my start in traveling, that kind of really happened in my younger years. My parents always liked traveling a lot on holidays, but they never really went anywhere outside of the US. I'm from Philadelphia originally. And when I was in high school, I had the opportunity to participate in a year abroad in an exchange student program. And I also participated in another shorter exchange as well, which I thought was it was a fantastic experience. I learned so much. And that experience was more spurned by my desire to study different languages than it was by a desire to travel. So the travel for me was kind of secondary, but definitely an added benefit that I really enjoyed. So I mean, my interest in language was kind of what propelled me forward, and along with that, also my interest in culture and intercultural communication. That kind of all came out of the experience of living in a different culture and learning to speak the language and learning to integrate, etc. So that's kind of where I got started there.
Well, quick question. Am I noticing that you have maybe a hint of an Irish accent at all?
Indeed, yes. That's because I lived in Dublin for a number of years as well. And in my heart, I'm still in Dublin. So.
That's great. Okay, so now tell us a little bit about. Okay, so that gives a brief background on that. In your travels and pursuit of, I suppose, language. Well, first, are you fluent then in multiple languages?
So I speak German fluently. Most people, when I meet them here and I'm speaking German with them, they can't tell that I'm not actually one of them, and that just really comes from years of hard work developing my language skills. And then I also went to Denmark to do my undergraduate degree. So I studied Danish as well. My Danish is not quite as good, but I can function in Danish. I can do everything that I need to do. I can work in Danish as well. So that's that.
When people travel, usually, whether semester abroad or going to study abroad and things like that, I find that there's generally a trend that at least people that I know from the U.S. They go to other English-speaking countries. What's it like to dive into a foreign country where you have to learn the language to do something like that? Is that terrifying?
A little, because you're going to a place where you don't know anyone, and you don't know, will I find friends? Will I get on with people? Will there be people there who can help me if I have a problem? Or, if I do have a problem and maybe I'm not so good in the language, how can I communicate what I need or communicate that I'm asking for help? So sure, I mean, that's all there. I mean, there's a huge amount of anxiety connected with speaking another language. And by profession, I'm an English language teacher. And I see this, even in students, even if they are in a safe, friendly learning environment of the classroom where they have a lot of work to overcome that anxiety over speaking, if I say the wrong thing, will somebody laugh at me? Or if I pronounce it incorrectly, will people not understand me? So, so yeah, I mean, that's definitely there. But I think that ultimately, people are pretty, if you're a pretty friendly person, then people will greet you in a pretty friendly way. And, at the end of the day, that's what really counts, and that's where it's at. So
absolutely. Just again, purely out of curiosity, are there any moments that stick out in your mind that were truly like scary or wild, or something that like really stands out when it comes to like traveling into all these different places? Anything that, or not even scary, but maybe like exciting or something like that? Anything that stands out that was like, okay, that was definitely outside the norm?
Yeah, I think what really stands out for me the most is when I made the move from Germany to Ireland. That was back in 2007. I went to Ireland to do my MA, and then I ended up sticking around for a few more years and working. And what really kind of struck me was that, like, I was going to an English-speaking country. I speak English quite well, I think. But when I got there, my culture shock was unexpectedly high. When I went there, I was kind of assuming like, I come from an Irish American family. I have loads of Irish friends. This is not going to be any big deal. Not in the same way as when you are trying to integrate into a culture where you have to learn the language as well. But actually it was kind of a bigger deal than I was expecting.
Okay, well, yeah, that's a pretty interesting. I guess that is a little counterintuitive based on what you would expect. That's
exactly, yeah, exactly.
So tell us a little bit about the Multicultural Life and possibly EnglishWithLisa.com. So these are both, for those listening, the multiculturallife.com and English-with-Lisa.com. These are both Lisa's websites. So tell us a little bit about both of these. Which one are you focusing on right now, and why?
I'm focusing mainly on EnglishWithLisa.com. The reason for that is purely financial, because I make my living as an English language teacher. That's how I pay my bills, and the bills need to be paid. So, that said, I do really enjoy my work, and I really enjoy my students and getting to know them, and I find that to be tremendously rewarding. And the Multicultural Life, I'm kind of also working on a bit more on the side of English with Lisa, because I think that will need to have just more time for me to develop my ideas for that.
Right. So I come to English with Lisa, and this is actually something I've always wondered why maybe I don't see more, but I also don't go out searching for it. Is why people with, especially a skill set like being bilingual or knowing multiple languages, and a propensity towards that, and they enjoy it. Why I don't see more people offering kind of what you're doing with your website right here, which is a few different things. It's language training, it's copywriting translation, which I think is awesome, and then it's writing in English. Now, but I'm curious, as I look through this, is this specifically for German audiences? This website?
It's intended to be mainly for German audiences, and I do believe that will be the main draw, simply because I'm based in Germany. And in terms of like organizing Skype meetings for doing language training, we're in the same time zone, so that makes it a lot easier. I have absolutely nothing against working with people from other countries. In fact, I would be quite delighted if people from other countries were interested in using my services. The time zone issue is one that we just kind of need to find a way to manage. If it's a nearer time zone, like 1 or 2 hours, then of course that's much easier to work with. But really, I mean, the internet makes a lot possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned this was purely financial, or at least primarily financial. So tell me a little bit about that. What are your goals with this? Like, what do you actually want to create with this in terms of if income, if money is the goal, or if it's a financial goal for this one? What are your expectations with what you're building?
That I can keep a roof over my head and food on the table.
Sure.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. Like, what do you then, when you look at this and as you build this out, how do you go about starting from scratch with something like this, building it out, and knowing that's what you want to get to? You obviously have some key figures in your head. What do you do to make that happen?
Gosh, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, while English with Lisa is sort of still in the baby phases, and it's still kind of under construction. I'm working with two contractors who handle, on a freelance basis, who handle, getting classes in for me, and they handle all the admin and the acquisition and all that stuff. So that's basically how I'm paying my bills for now, while I, alongside of that, build up my internet presence and hopefully in the very near future develop my my online audience, and I'm able to draw in my own crowd.
Okay, so the way I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong. So right now you're doing essentially, because this website looks like it's more geared towards it seems like a freelance service kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, but for right now, so while you're building this, you're also at the same time you're working for a company that provides similar style services, or how does that work?
Yeah. So I've got a couple of contractors who provide in-company English language courses for people, here, and those are physical courses where I go into the company and I teach the groups. Usually it's business English that they need, and work through that. Of course, it is. I have a freelance contract with those contractors, and I'm not sure what else I could tell you about that.
Yeah, sure. Well, my next question would be, as far as what you're trying to build, when is it considered success for you? What is success for you when it comes to a project like this?
Success for me is A, if I can live from it. B, if I feel joyful in doing it. C, if the people that I am working with are joyful about working with me, and feel that they have achieved what they wanted to achieve when they come to me for a course.
What do you like most about being in this, I suppose, profession or this industry, in dealing with language and language training and things like that?
There are a few things that I absolutely love about it. One is that I always meet very interesting people. So that, I think that's just great. I've had the opportunity to work with people from every continent of the world, with maybe the exception of Australia. I've never had Australian students, but I have had Australian colleagues, seeing as that's an English-speaking country. But yeah, I think that's just, tremendously interesting. And I feel that really helps me to broaden my own horizons and allows me to learn a lot about other parts of the world and other traditions, other cultures, gain other perspectives that I ordinarily wouldn't gain. And the other thing is that I just think that language is really interesting. And it's something that I could easily spend all day talking about.
So to circle back around, I should have asked this question earlier, because I asked you, basically define success when it comes to this thing. And now the second question that just came to mind, I thought to myself, well, how do you define failure, if you define it at all? At what point, as you work on this, is there a time limit on when you want this to get up and running, or is this like a lifelong pursuit kind of thing, or when do you know, okay, this is, I'm gonna throw in the towel on this and move on, or have you just thought of that?
That has not crossed my mind at all.
Mm-hmm. And so this is something that you look at and you perceive as kind of something you'll be doing essentially into the future. No time limit on it.
There's no time limit on it. No.
Okay, great. So, I'm looking at this. I think this is pretty fascinating. So what are your goals then with getting this up to speed in terms of, have you had clients already through this site?
Well, where I am right now is that I've got my first client starting a course with me next week. She came to me not through the site though, but rather through word of mouth. And I've got another client. I actually had my very first client query, which did come to me through the site. And I received that yesterday. So yesterday I gave him an offer, and I'm just waiting to hear back if he wants to accept my offer or not.
What's the hardest thing about what you're working on right now and what you're doing with English with Lisa and all the other projects you're working on?
The hardest thing, gosh, I don't know. That's a bit hard to say. I mean, there are kind of different challenges. I guess maybe the hardest thing is just to make sure that I make ends meet while I'm getting all of this stuff off the ground. I think that's kind of like my key worry, which is on my mind every day. But
a big worry, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fairly substantial worry. But at the same time, you only have so much energy that you can dedicate to worrying before you just kind of have to get on with things and have faith in yourself and have faith in what you're doing.
And for you, how do you know when enough is enough when it comes to working, as you say? So how do you find that fine line between pushing yourself as hard as possible, like not and trying working to achieve your goals, but at the same time giving yourself rest? Like what does that look like for you?
For me, I work when I have the drive, and I try to do something every day to have the commitment to be working at it and chipping away at it every day. But when I start feeling tired, then I rest, because I know that as well, if I'm feeling tired, then I'm not going to be putting out my best work either. And for me, like the immersion is really, really helping me keep my momentum and keep myself on task with that. And having that group of other people who are, going through exactly the same journey, trying to create their own projects, and, that we just check in with each other and, see where we're at and see how we can help one another. And that for me is that's really the key to keep me going.
Again, kind of come back to, remember you pointed out basically 3 things that you were looking for with what you're working on right now. Three goals. There was the financial piece, the working with other piece, and then it was, I think, a personal satisfaction or happiness piece. So I'm curious, you're working on the financial piece. I get that. As far as the other 2, are you satisfied with the people you work with, and are you happy doing the work you're doing right now?
Absolutely. I have never been happier.
So, I'm curious, are you planning to travel beyond where you're at now? Like in terms of, you're in Germany right now, is that home base for you now? Because I mean, looking at your website, it sounds like you move around a lot. Or are you planning to uproot again and move somewhere else?
Yeah. I mean, it's true that I have in the past really moved around quite a lot. And I'm starting to feel a bit tired of that. I'm tired of unpacking boxes and packing them again, and trying to figure out what the heck I did with this or that, and then remember, I must have given it away the last time I moved house. But yeah, I mean, I think that the future for me is fairly open. I mean, at the moment, I do want to kind of settle in a bit more here in Germany. Maybe just kind of feel a bit more rooted. But the future is indeed wide open. Who knows what opportunities will come along.
So I guess segueing from that into this question, if you, a year from now, where would you, if we were to do another call, where do you think you'd be calling me from? Or ideally, where would you be calling me from? And how would everything be going with your business and what you're working on?
A year from now, I think that I will most likely be calling you from Germany. What part of Germany, I don't know. I don't know if I'll still be based in the same city. But yeah, I mean, I think more than likely Germany. And where I will ideally be situated in my business is I'd like to have a solid foundation down for English with Lisa, and I would also like the Multicultural Life to be kind of starting to blossom in its own time.
Awesome. Great stuff, Lisa. Well, hey, I thank you so much for being on In the Trenches today. I really appreciate your time. It was fun getting to know you a little bit and sharing it with the audience and find out, just what you're working on. And I really appreciate your perspective on on culture and travel. I've done a lot of it myself. So just, thank you so much for being on the call. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great, Tom. Thanks a million. I'm glad to be here, and I was really glad to have the opportunity to connect with you. And I hope that people enjoyed listening.
Definitely. I'm sure they have. And my question, through a final one, where can people reach you if they'd like to get in touch?
There's a contact form on both of those websites. So you can just click onto either englishwithlisa.com or the multiculturallife.com and send me an email from the contact form there. You can also find me very easily on LinkedIn. If you just put in my name, Lisa Stiefel, Stiefel, you'll see my my profile there, and also you'll see that I'm based in Germany, so I'm that one.
Perfect. All right, Lisa, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a million, Tom. It was great.
And that wraps up another broadcast of In the Trenches. If you're interested in checking out the show notes, just head over to tommorkes.com/podcast to see our latest episodes. Also, I just wanted to give a quick update to fans and listeners of In the Trenches, and specifically what I'm working on right now. For the past 2 years, I've been publishing books, my own and others, through Insurgent Publishing, my boutique publishing company. In the past 6 months alone, I've helped 4 individual authors launch their books to bestseller on Amazon, including Dan Norris's The 7-Day Startup and David Nihill's Do You Talk Funny, among others. And both of those books are still top of the charts months after launch. I've learned 2 important things from all this. Number 1, that people still read books. And believe it or not, they're willing to pay for the good ones. And number 2, the $60 billion book industry is only getting bigger, and the barrier to entry is only getting lower, which means access to this market has never been closer to the average writer, blogger, or author. It is literally within the grasp of anyone who wants it. But you need to know how to approach it the right way, with patience, with a strategy, and with the right implementation and execution. That's why I've been able to launch so many bestsellers, many that are still top of the charts, because we brought great books to the people who wanted and would pay for them. No slimy sales tactics, just honest, powerful marketing. Now, I want to show other authors and publishers how to do the same. 4 months ago, I launched the pre-beta to a new super secret platform called Publishers Empire. In that time, I've helped a dozen authors and publishers start to bring their ideas to life. And with their help and feedback, we've quickly developed what is, in my opinion, the best, most comprehensive publishing training platform in the world. And now I'm getting ready to open the doors up to a few more students. So if you're interested in being part of a tight-knit family of publishers who help and support one another through their writing and publishing projects, if you want access to over 100 HT training videos to take you through the writing and publishing process, if you want access to proven copy and paste book marketing and sales copy, stuff that we've used to launch bestsellers, and if you'd like professional book covers and templates you could plug your own work into and look like a pro in minutes, and if you'd like all of that while getting the chance to be mentored by me, check out publishersempire.com and sign up to be notified when we launch. That's www.publishersempire.com. I hope to see you there. As always, this is Tom Morkes. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Thank you for listening to In the Trenches. Your creative work doesn't stop here. Join the resistance, the small but growing army of entrepreneurs and artists putting a dent in the world at www.tommorkes.com. Never fight alone. Join the resistance.